Jalen Johnson goes down. There are 9 games on Thursday. We're going to talk about all of it. But Michael Bolton, are you here? Mike?
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and your mouth is moving a lot, like a rat. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky at joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel is there for the NFL playoffs. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 redos in bonus bets. If you win your first bet, go to FanDuel.com to get started. Also, check out LockedOnDaily.com. That's where you can find the best newsletter for your favorite NBA team. LockedOnDaily.com. Sign up and get it stuffed into your inbox hole 5 days a week. Thumbs are also appreciated, so if you got one of them and you don't need it, I'll take it. I won't promise to give it back, but I will take it. Let's talk stuff. Let's talk games. It is International Day of Education, so hopefully you're ready to get schooled. We're ready to talk about what happened in the NBA across Thursday's action. Let's look at some news. Not shocking, but Brandon Miller is done for the season. We spoke about this many times on the show, that's sort of an injury, and the nomenclature that they used in terms of labeling it a tear suggested that it's a 4 to 5 month injury and he would not play, but there was always an inherent risk with dropping just because. Now, again, I said it many times, if you forced me to do it, I would drop him because I don't think he's coming back, and he's not coming back. So Nick Smith is going to be a starter for a period of time. I think that period of time is till the end of the regular season because I don't believe Trey Mann is coming back. But we've heard nothing on that one. So we'll see. But I think Nick Smith, again, is probably worth a look. Minutes are fine. He's going to get shots up. He's going to have Isaiah Collier-type shooting percentage, field goal percentage, but that's okay. I think he's worth having a look now that we know that is the case. We also didn't know what would happen with big Zion Williamson. They got a back-to-back Friday, Saturday. Unfortunately, he's sitting out Friday with only 3 games on, which would have been great for him to play on that one instead of playing on the 14-game Saturday, which he may not even do. I think he will, though. But he's out on Friday, so you're going to get your Javonte Greens and Jeremiah Robinson-Earls into that spot. And then All-Star starters were announced. I don't have super strong thoughts on the All-Star game just in general. I think there were some things that were a little bit off with some of the voting, but I also understand why. Well, not necessarily the voting, because obviously it's different parts. It's media, it's fans, it's not coaches, media, fans, and players. Donovan Mitchell has not been the best player on his own team, but he's named an All-Star starter. Okay, I think that you could easily make the argument that Mitchell, Garland, Trey, Cade, LaMelo, Brunson, any of those guys could easily be named the starters. It was Brunson and Donovan. And I get why they're the two teams at the top of the standings. But again, Mitchell has not been as good as Garland, but that's how things work sometimes, isn't it? Then your front court, Tatum and Giannis, the obvious ones. Karl Anthony Towns, the other one. He's been very good. Defensively, not so much. I would have maybe I would have given it to Evan Mobley. But I don't think that was like obviously Embiid's not in the mix. Bam Adebayo's nothing close to it. I would have considered an Evan Mobley in that spot, but it's not egregious to me. The Western Conference is the tough one because 3 of the players that they named are egregious, I think, but for very specific reasons. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, sure, absolutely guaranteed lock starter. Nikola Jokic, lock starter. These are the 2 top players in the NBA at the moment, number 1 and 2 in whatever order you want for MVP. The next 3 players are 3 of the best players of the last 15 to 20 years. Steph, KD, and LeBron. In no way are they the 3 best players who should be starting in the Western Conference. They're not even close to it. Victor Wembanyama not starting is ridiculous. He has been significantly better than both Kevin Durant and LeBron. And I know someone's going to have the argument, well, look at where they are in the standings. They're 1.5 games behind Phoenix. They're a half a game behind Golden State, the Spurs. Half a game. And Steph's in. And Wemby's just been better than those guys. Flat out better. They're 3 games behind the Lakers. Flat out better. Luka probably doesn't qualify because he hasn't played enough. But to me, Steph has not been the second best guard at all. Anthony Edwards has been somewhat disappointing, but he's been better than Steph. To me, the KD's been fine. Not better than Wemby. LeBron's been not even better than Anthony Davis. So having Davis and Wemby in there to me would make more sense than KD and LeBron, but I also get it. These are absolutely iconic players. The players voted for those guys ahead of AD and Mobley. Not Mobley, AD and Wemby, which again, I don't know why. And so did the fans, so they were never a chance. But to me, it was very clear, obvious, that Wemby needed to be in that group. He needs to be in there. He's one of the best 5 players in the NBA this season. I don't really think there's a debate on that either. And not in the top 5 in the West. But there are very specific reasons. The other guard spot in the West is a little weird. It's a little weird figuring it out, but Steph is definitely not it. But whatever. It doesn't matter that much. These guys will all get in. Maybe they don't. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the East with like LaMelo and Trey and Garland. Do they get in? That might be an issue. We'll see what happens overall there. But that is your all-star starters that have been announced. Charles Barkley listed his Western Conference all-star reserve picks. I was going to ask the question, does he even watch? I know the answer is no. I know that it's no. He had Jalen Green in that list as an all-star reserve. Okay. Yeah, that obviously is just not accurate. Just some wild selections from some of these guys. And yeah, that's what they do. They're there to hate and not to watch. Let's talk waiver wire. There was someone else that Charles had that just made absolutely no sense. Norman Powell. Now, I know you said Norm deserves it. Not really. There's so many other guys who deserve that spot. Norm's been pretty good. He's been pretty good. But I don't think he's an all-star reserve. Him and Jalen Green on that all-star reserve grouping was pretty crazy. Let's talk about the waiver wire. Let's talk about the most added players over the last 48 hours. Who is it? Who's number one? It's no shock that it is Nick Smith Jr. The Brandon Miller news, I think, pushed people because there were people who didn't know whether to drop him, and I understand that. Now the decision is obvious. You move on from Brandon. Pig Williams, the next one. The Thunder have a pretty good schedule, a very good schedule. Nobody else plays on Sunday apart from the Blazers. I don't think that Hartenstein returns there, so whatever. Duncan Robinson, maybe. I think people would have rushed to add him because Jim was suspended. We'll talk about the Heat later on. Vit Krejci, the most added player. We'll talk more about it later. I think you need to push him to number one. He should be added. Vit Krejci should be added in all spots at this point, I think. Mike Conley, people chasing the last game, which was very good. I just don't know that they're going to play him 32 every night. I don't mind doing it. I don't mind having a look at him because if he can give you a top 90 run, unlikely, but possible, that's okay. And the last one there is Moses Moody, who with Brandon Pajemski back today and Moody's production being very mid, it's fine to add today, but whatever. I don't think it's anything that's sort of game-changing at all. On the most dropped side, Cole Anthony's been ill. Cool. See you later. Bye-bye. Bryce Sensabaugh missed the last game with an illness. The Jazz brought everyone back. I think that you end up re-adding Sensabaugh. I get it. Tamani Kamara, you know my thoughts on him. I don't think that he's a must-roster player, but it's a silly time to drop him considering A, they played today, and B, they've got this great schedule coming up, and nobody else has the same level of schedule. So that didn't make a lot of sense, but I know he missed the last game through illness, and I guess that's what they're doing. Keyshawn George was dropped, which, he's not really a 12-team league guy. Brandon Miller and Derek Lively, the last two on that list. They are both long-term injuries, and I don't believe we see Lively again in the fantasy season, and obviously Miller is not coming back at all during this season. We got that confirmation already. Let's get in and talk about... should we get to the games? Not yet. Let's tell you, though, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. And the NFL playoffs, we've got 2 games left. And from the first whistle through to the final drive, FanDuel is there by your side to give you that little bit of an extra enjoyment boost. New customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That is $300 in bonus bets on FanDuel when you win that first $5 bet. The app is easy to navigate. There are many different bet options, straight up stuff, money line stuff, which is the same as straight up. Spreads, totals, individuals, team totals. You're talking about props and anytime touchdown scorers. It's all there over on FanDuel. So go to FanDuel.com and join today. Get started with $300 in bonus bets. That is FanDuel.com. Make the playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, let's do this first game. We're talking about the early one in Paris, in France. It is the San Antonio Spurs up against the Indiana Pacers. The Spurs trotted out the same lineup that they've been trotting out. Not that you probably can remember that, considering how long ago it was since they played. But the slight difference here is that Jeremy Sohan did return to action. Let's start with Sohan because he came off the bench and played 18 minutes. This is what the Spurs do. Actually, I should tell you, the Spurs cooked them, 140 to 110. The Spurs bring guys back slowly off the bench. Sohan had 13 and 9 with 3 assists on 67%. That's really, really good. I would make sure I'm adding Sohan. It will take a bit of time, but he will get to 30 minutes. And without any doubt in my mind, Steph Castle will move to a smaller role. In fact, Castle played 24 minutes, had 9 points on 33%. He had that little 3-game run, but overall, again, bro's not up to it. He's not ready for it. He's not ready to be a fantasy option in 10, 12, or 14 team leagues. And your Jack Armstrong should be working pretty quickly on that one.
Get that garbage out of here.
Champagny is also out of favour. He had 7 points in 17 minutes. While the pencil, Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. He had his little routine game of 20 points. Of course, when Barnes does this, you always have to go, well, okay, that's great and all, but like, how real is it? Oh, no, it's not real at all. 90% shooting. This is what he does. He's going to go out and have 6 points on 4 shots in the next game. Or he'll have 3 of these in a row and go, well, is Barnes back? No, he's not. He's never back. It never happens. Don't worry about it. He's done. Bro's cooked. Don't worry about it. Good game, though. Let's talk about the actual good player, Victor Wembanyama. 30 and 11, 6 assists, 5 blocks, 4 threes, 62%. Brilliant. Didn't take any free throws, though, but whatever. And then Devin Vassell had a nice 25, 3 and 4, 2 steal, 2 block games. Big games from their big studs. Not a great game from Chris Paul, but in an off game where he has 3 points, getting 8 rebounds, 7 assists, and a steal, it's a W. It is a W. On the Pacers side of things, that was bad. Ben Mathurin, again, you will say, Josh, you dickhead. You told me that Ben Mathurin's not a 12-team league guy. Yeah, I agree. I did say that, and I stand by it. Mathurin scored 24 points, which is very good. He had 2 steals and a block. Also, pretty good. He shot 79% to get there and played only 25 minutes. So, I stand by it. They've also still got a terrible schedule coming up here. I do not think you need to roster Ben Mathurin in 12-team leagues. I do not think you need to roster Andrew Nembhard in 12-team leagues, even though he had 8 assists and 3 steals, which is unquestionably good. But he played 27 minutes. The minutes upside for these guys is not there unless players go down. In fact, it's probably about to get squished even more as Neesmith's minutes push up. Aaron Neesmith played 19 minutes and had 3 points. He is still incredibly over-rostered, Neesmith, in 12-teamers, and you don't need to do that, nor do you need to do it in 14-teamers. Siakam shot 70%. It was like fine, 18, 4, and 6. While Halliburton, I know we've asked the question a million times, what's going on, and we don't really have an answer. But 13, 2, and 7 is just not good enough, and he continues to be an absolutely massive disappointment as a first-round pick. What's the worst pick in the first round? Him? Embiid? It's got to be Embiid because he doesn't play. Or Ant Edwards. Which one's the worst? It's Embiid, then Halliburton, then Ant, I would say. 3 really bad picks in round 1. Which, again, like sometimes stuff happens. This is what happens year to year in fantasy, that random things that you can't really explain, although the Embiid one was actually pretty obvious. And even the Ant one was pretty obvious. The Halliburton one, not really as much, but that hamstring might have just buggered him. I don't know. He might be cooked. Turner, 14 in 26 minutes on 29%. That stinks. Obviously, bad shooting night. Don't worry too much about it, though. And not a lot else really going on, I don't think, with that team. You don't need to be rostering TJ McConnell. Still is in 31% of 12-team leagues, which is literally crazy. What are you doing? He had 4 points and 4 assists in 16 minutes. There must be a lot of leagues that are just really feeling comfortable about stashing. That's a crazy move. It doesn't seem to have any W upside whatsoever. What about the next one? The Portland Trailblazing Legends beat our Orlando Magic. Sad noise. 101-79 for the Blazers, and they did it. I thought they could not put the genie back into the bottle. They did. Scoot went back to the bench. What an idiot franchise. And not only did they do that, but they won, which is bad in 2 ways. A, they shouldn't be winning. They should be trying to be bad. And B, it means that they're more likely to keep him on the bench. If I have Scoot, and I do, I'm holding him. But this is bad. And you got to look at this and go, what the hell happened to Scoot? Why did he play 14 minutes? Do they hate him that much? Well, the answer is yes, they do, but also he fouled out. 6 fouls in 14 minutes is outrageous. That is bad basketball. I hate fouls. I hate fouling out. That is terrible. I am holding him because I don't believe that these guys are going to be healthy every game. And that is literally the only reason I'd be holding Shaedon Sharpe, because also he is not very good. 25 minutes for Shaedon. 24 actually, 7 points. 27%. He's moved to the bench, and every game his minutes have gone down. In fact, he's now 198th over his last 5 games. But, like I said with Kamara, it's all well and good for me to tell you that I don't think that Sharp's a must-roster player, because I don't. They've got 4 quality games coming up in the next 7 days, and no one else is near that. So that's the value, and you're going to get random Simons and Grants and rest all over the shop. Shockingly enough, DeAndre Ayton didn't play in this game, but Rob Williams started, 24 minutes for him, 8 and 12 with 4 blocks. That's a good Rob game. He probably won't play tomorrow, but then maybe you could stream him back in for the other remaining quality games coming up. And then Kamara, who missed the last game, went crazy. 16, 6 and 3, 2 steals and 2 blocks. That is by far his best game. And this is how poorly he'd been playing. That's a very good game. But now that makes him the 152nd over the last 2 weeks. Like, he had not been really rosterable at all. You got a good one here, and you got a nice little stretch of games coming up in terms of just where they're positioned. But overall, he's a mid sort of a guy. And then you get random Jabari Walker game where he had 6 steals and 1 block. And I think all of those came in the first half. If Ayton doesn't play tomorrow and Rob Williams doesn't play, well, Jabari's going to be worth streaming. It has to be worth streaming in that position. I don't see any other way around it. I don't know if there's much more to talk about on this Blaze. Oh yeah, Denny Avdia, only 26 minutes. His free throws are becoming a real problem. 3 of 6 from the line. He shot poorly from the field. He had no defensive stats and no threes. The 26 minutes, it was a blowout factor involved in this. But again, when Jeremy Grant plays 34 and you get Kamara with 34 and Simons with 32, the problem with this team is they are bad, but they have too many good players. And somebody has to lose out. And this has been my war cry on this team all season. It's like, you can tell me what you think about Avdia. I'm definitely not going to be as high on him as you are. But where do the minutes come from? How does he get consistently big minutes? And yeah, he started in this game next to Kamara and Grant and Simons and then didn't play that much. So Scoot and Sharp and those guys could get in. It's going to require some thinning, some culling of players out of the rotation to get the minutes back that you want. On the Magic side of this thing, this is really, really disappointing. They are, after putting up so many great efforts, they are struggling. And I wonder, I know we can talk about many different things, and Goga being out, he's probably a part of it, but I think that the culture-setting legend, Jalen Suggs being out, is just really, really it. Like, he is an unbelievable culture setter. He's an unbelievable defender. And him being out, they have just fallen apart without him there. So they did welcome back Franz Wagner. That meant that Tristan Da Silva went to the bench and he had his best game in a long time. 16 points for Da Silva in 29 minutes. Don't worry about adding him. Wagner played 24. He had 20 points. He took 19 shots. It's a very good game. It's empty otherwise, but that's great. Paolo Banchero was featured on my buy low show the other day. Holy shit, 7% he shot. 8 points. The shooting is horrendous. That's great for buying low. There was someone literally this morning, now I don't know if he was being serious or not, but somebody at the very end of my mailbag show, and I saw it as I logged off, he asked the question, do I hold on to Paolo Banchero? And that was before this game. Now the obvious answer is yes, what are you talking about? But if people are actually asking that question, and if one person asks it, I doubt that there is only one. There might be 5, there might be 10, there might be 3. And I know that sounds crazy, but there are people who adhere to a 9-cat ranking list. And I've had this argument with people before. Yeah, you'd just be better with him on the wire. You wouldn't. You wouldn't. But a game like this will further strengthen those people's resolves. Now, they almost definitely don't have Paolo, so it's a tough thing to do. But the buy low is there. Johnny Isaac had 0 points. Sick, cool, great, whatever. Mr. Black played 31 minutes, 12 points with 5 assists and a steal. And with no Cole Anthony and no Jalen Suggs, the opportunity to use Mr. Black is there. But have a look at the schedule. Does it make sense to add him? Will you play them? Because over the next 6 days, there is hardly any streaming availability for teams. There are 3 high-volume days coming up. So have a look whether you would actually use Anthony Black over the next week. And if the answer is no, don't worry about it. I would not bother with it if you wouldn't use him. With Wagner back, KCP had only 7 points and only 5 shots. Not a shock there. His usage dropped. That's generally what happens when the better players return. He'd been putting up some good numbers, but that's probably not going to hold in that spot now. Today's episode is also brought to you by Talkspace. Yeah, therapy, it's good, yeah. It's a game changer, yeah. It can help you manage stress, yeah. Improve sleep, yeah. And communicate more effectively, yeah. Why am I saying yeah? Well, just to draw your attention to me talking about Talkspace. Finding the right therapist and fitting sessions into a busy schedule can be a challenge, and that is where Talkspace comes in. Yeah? Talkspace is the leading virtual therapy provider, and it makes getting you the help that you need easy, accessible, and affordable. Signing up is simple. You sign in, you find your licensed therapist, they match you within 48 hours, and then you can get your sessions done from the comfort of your home, and it is covered, Talkspace, by many insurance plans, and for most insured members, there's a $0 copay. It has never been easier to prioritize mental health. And you guys can get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA and enter the promo code SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA, enter the promo code SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month. That is Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA. The promo code is SPACE80. Now let's do the next game. The Toronto Raptors, our Toronto Raptors up against the Atlanta Hawks, and the Raptors, they claim another victim. They beat the Hawks 122-119 is your final score here in this one. The Raptors trotted out the same lineup that they've been running out there with no Emmanuel quickly. And two of the things we wanted to check on in this game is what they're doing with Bruce Brown and Kel'el Ware. And Brown had another big one. 18, 5, and 4 for the Shark. He had a 3, he had a steal, that's great. And in isolation, that is a great 12-team line. I just don't care. And the reason I don't care is I am not looking at Bruce Brown and saying, great. Right? They are prioritizing Bruce Brown. The minutes are there. The production's there because I'll tell you what I know about Bruce Brown. He's not going to shoot 78% on twos. He's not going to run 32 usage. He's not going to have 18, 5, and 4 in under 20 minutes. It's not happening. If you added Bruce Brown today, congratulations, you hit on a very, very good game. And that is 3 really good ones in a row for Bruce. But until I see 25 plus minutes, I don't think that's a long-term 12-team league thing. Now, you can stream almost anybody who's in a rotation role at any point to see what happens. That is part of the streaming bargain you have playing fantasy. And sometimes it hits and sometimes it doesn't. But as a long-term, what does this mean as we move forward? It doesn't make sense that Brown is going to be able to do this in 20 minutes. Toronto also gave us good dick game today. Grady played 32 minutes. He had 15 points. He had 2 steals. He had 3 assists. And much like with Brown, well, I don't care. I don't think that we need to do anything outside of consider a stream from Dick. Like that's really all he is. Unless we get 2 of these guys out, that's where I'm settling. Dick is just not worth it for me. Pirtle bounced back after a foul-played game last time. He actually hit his free throws too, 17, 9, and 4 with 2 steals and 2 blocks. And Kelly Olynyk was posting another monster. 14 minutes for Olynyk. That's not very many, clearly. But 11, 4, and 5, which is great. We know he racks them up. But then he ended his night early with calf soreness. Again, don't add Kelly Olynyk, in my mind. Streamers, anyone's available. Anyone's in play for that. But 14 minutes is not going to get it done. It's just not. Over the last 2 weeks, he's averaging 15 minutes a night. You know where he is? Outside the top 200. So while this is very good, it's very interesting. I don't actually care that much about it. Barnesy had 25, 6, and 3, and he hit his free throws. He was good from the field. A really solid game from Scott. And Rowan Barrett, not as good, but yeah, didn't hit free throws, which apparently he can just never do, but at least the field goals are up. Really low usage, though, for Barrett. He had 15, 6, and 3 overall. Davion Mitchell's like a worse Isaiah Collier. You can get assists from him, and you got 7 of them here, but you do not get anything else. Nothing. And then Jamal Shed hurt his shoulder towards the end of this game as well. Another Chris Boucher scoring explosion. 17 points, 18 minutes, 70% shooting. Don't really care either. But these are the guys, the Brown, the Olynyk, the Boucher, that when you go, can I stream somebody in to see what we get? Because in a head-to-head weekly contest, accumulation is the key. So if you're just getting extra games in and you get a random 11, 4, and 5 game, an 18, 5, and 4, whatever it is, that just adds on to everything else. But relying upon it every game, you come out down the downside of things. For the Hawks, the big situation here is Jalen Johnson. And unfortunately, at the time of me recording this, they haven't given us any information on it. They went with the same starting lineup, meaning Onyeka Okongwu started, but we'll start with Jalen. He played 11 minutes. He had 3 points, a rebound, and an assist, and then he left with a shoulder injury. And you'll say, oh my God, again, the shoulder again. Why did they play him on a back-to-back? No. Other shoulder. Remember last year? He suffered 3 ankle sprains after having a wrist fracture or arm fracture earlier in the season. Now this shoulder has bothered him twice, and now his other shoulder. And it looked it looked like it was a dislocation, a subluxation, maybe a subluxation, which is like a sort of dislocation, or as a full dislocation. And the problem with full dislocations is that often they can be slid straight back in. All right, it goes back in, you're good to go. Oh, that's fine. But sometimes when it dislocates, there's ligament damage, there's capsule damage, there's labrum damage, and that roots you. And they immediately ruled him out for the game. It looked relatively innocuous, but that sometimes is all it needs. You don't need to get piled up on and have your arm twisted at the wrong angle to have a significant injury. At this point, I'm expecting missed time for Jalen. I don't know how long. Got absolutely no idea. But what I would do is add Vit Krejci. 25 minutes, 13, 2-2, 2 steals and 3 threes. And we saw earlier, with Johnson out, Krejci was a top 100 guy. He's 104th over the last 2 weeks in 28 minutes. DeAndre Hunter, garbage. And Krejci, still hold Hunter though, but Krejci's the guy to add. Now, maybe Johnson doesn't miss any time at all. That is possible. Seems unlikely, but it's possible. But Krejci's what you want. There was no Clint Capella in this game. Onyeka Okongwu, 19, 12, and 4, 2 steals and a block. Amazing. Great field goals, great free throws. This is why desks have been lifted in the past. Because he's a big man who can block shots, who can get steals, who can pass, who can shoot free throws, and has high field goals. It's an absolute, it's a unicorn. It's not really, because I hate that term. And why did I say, Josh, you need to think about things? Because I hate it. I hate the term. But that sort of a player is incredibly valuable. He played 31 minutes. I would have hoped for a little bit more, even though Capella was out, but whatever. I don't think that he is moving back to the bench. Dyson had 22, 8, and 4 with 4 steals, just continues to be an unbelievable. He's not going to win Most Improved Player, which is actually crazy. I hate the way this award is adjudicated. He is very clearly, much like his teammate Jalen Johnson last season, he is very clearly the most improved player in the NBA. He was a guy that was barely a rotation player last season, and now he's the best defensive guard in the league, and now he's doing this offensively. I know Cade Cunningham's the widespread favorite, and Cade's been great. Cade was also really, really good last season. All right, Dyson Daniels is the most improved player without any question in my mind. But he won't win it. That's okay. Trae Young was bad. Didn't shoot well from the field, didn't shoot well from the line. The good thing about Trae is he's still got 18 points, he's still got 2 threes and 13 assists. Speaking of Hunter, the field goal percentage merchant is back at it. I know that I don't need justification for some of my takes because I know that they're true. But sometimes it is good to have it. When you say that, hey, the only reason DeAndre Hunter's been good is because every shot is going in at a level that he's never been able to do, nor will he be able to sustain. And the fact that he does absolutely jack shit else in other categories means that it is going to crash hard on you. He had 8, 2, and 2 in this game. 8, 2, and 2. He shot 27%. He didn't take a single free throw, and he played 31 minutes. But because Johnson is out, because Ricochet is out, you got to hold on to DeAndre Hunter. But he remains, unbelievably, he remains DeAndre Hunter, which is a not very good player. A not very good player. He is you know what he is? Less exciting Jalen Green. A guy that gets by on incredible high shooting numbers, incredible shooting variance stretches. And I know it feels like I'm hating on him, but it is important to know that this has been a pattern for him all through his career. He doesn't do anything anywhere else. And when it doesn't go in at 60%, well, you're getting nothing. I said that Bogdan Bogdanovic might be washed. I'll play the sound just to repeat the take because it looks absolutely stupid today. Bogdan played 32 minutes. Where's that been, my guy? He had 23 points. Where also has that been? But I am very, very skeptical. In fact, if you want to know why I'm skeptical, look at his teammate DeAndre Hunter. 23, 3, and 0 for Bogdan. 0. 3 rebounds. And he shot 67% to get there. It's great that he's at least still got this in his game because we've been seeing nothing from him. And if you want to go and grab him, that's okay. Given the players that are out and the fact that he did flash, at least he's got this still in the bag. But part of the problem with guys like this, or part of the problem with guys who do tend to become washed, is that the big games become few and further between. More spaced out. You can get them, and then you have 4 bad ones, and then you get them again, then you have 4 bad ones. Or in the past, you might get 2 good ones and a bad one. So it's great, it's enticing, it's interesting, but my skepticism of it continuing still remains. It still remains. If you're in a deeper league, Dom Barlow played minutes. Now that's largely because Capella was out, but I like Barlow. 11 and 2 with 2 steals. I don't know if they'll play him at the 4 with Johnson out, because I know who he's better than. David Roddy, but we'll see whether they do that. He basically got those minutes because Capella was out, but it is worth noting. He got that playing time. Let's do the next one. The Oklahoma City Thunder go down to this Dallas Mavericks team missing a million people. On the road, Dallas was. Unbelievable victory from Dallas, bad loss for the Thunder. 121 Dallas, 115 OKC. Dinwiddie moved back to the starting lineup, replacing Quentin Grimes. And Kessler Edwards started over Olivier Maxence Prosper. Of course they did. Irving had 24, 3 and 4, fine. Paul Washington Jr., 41 minutes for PJ, 22, 19, 2 threes, 3 steals, 2 blocks, an absolute Gattuso special. You know that he's had some down games. He has to be held on to, but it is just frustrating to deal with the ups and downs here. And Spencer Dinwiddie played 35 minutes. He had 28 points. He had 3 assists. He shot 79% to get there. And this is without Doncic, of course, but no Clay, no Najee Marshall, and Hardy and Powell out as well. Dinwiddie is a streaming level player, not a must roster. Last game, we got 36 minutes from Quentin Grimes, and this one we had 9 points in 27. Okay? Maxence Prosper had 14. He was okay. Didn't shoot his free throws well. And then Kessler Edwards had 7 points in 23 minutes. And none of these guys have any real relevance in terms of moving forward. But what did happen? I said yesterday, does he exist? Does he play ever? Markieff Morris. He played 4 minutes in the first half. He was never seen from again, but he did play his 4 minutes. So I guess they heard me. They didn't, but he played and he was bad. Not a shock there. Dan Gafford, you'll be also surprised to know he went to the locker room, got hit in the head and the neck, but returned. He had 12 and 5 in his 23 minutes with a steal and a block. Just absolutely remains a must-roster player. On the Thunder side of this equation, which obviously is a disappointing equation for them, because they should be winning this game against a Mavs team with nobody there, but they didn't. Cason Wallace started, and Aaron Wiggins moved to the bench. Wallace wasn't able to finish the game, though. We'll see if there's any update on his injury coming through. Nothing at this stage. And then Lou Dort got ejected for a dick kick, hit, contact with the penile area. Cason Wallace had 2 steals with his 7 rebounds. He is a steals guy. That's what he does. He's been producing enough to be in category leagues, a 12-team league guy, but there's a lot of fluctuation in the numbers. And we know what Dort is. He's a stream guy, and that is it. Pig Williams was better, 12 and 6 with 3 threes and a block. So Jalen Williams, Pig Williams, Vietnamese legend Williams, Arkansas Williams, Tall Williams. He's the guy to stream in while Hartenstein is out. And remember, they play Sunday and nobody else does apart from Portland. Bronco played 40 minutes, Jalen. 33, 4 and 7, 4 steals and a block. He'd had some down games, obviously, but we're back in business. And Shea, just a casual 31, 1 and 7 on 25 shot attempts. We also got a better Alex Caruso game. 21 minutes for Caruso, 5 assists, 2 steals, a block. He is providing very good numbers in steals. I think that's 7 steals and 10 assists in the last 2 games. That's great. That's fantastic. It's on a back-to-back. But you just want more. If you're looking for steals, he's going to be there for you. He's going to be available and you're going to be using him for streaming. But otherwise, it's just not enough, much like the Bruce Brown or Kelly Olynyk discussions earlier. I'm not going to trust 20 minutes of Alex Caruso into my lineups, especially not in a points league. Well, Aaron Wiggins got 28 minutes, with both Dort and Wallace not available to finish the game. He had 9 points and didn't really do much with that at all. The next game was a blowout, but there was a lot for us to look at in this game because it was Miami. And they were taking on the old Milwaukee Bucks in Milwaukee. This game's start time was adjusted due to the Bucks leaving New Orleans late, I believe. Tyler Hero returned. That meant that Terry Rozier moved to the bench. Let's start with Hero. But the other lineup there, change was Jimmy Butler was suspended. It wasn't Jaime Jaquez. It was Pelle Larsson who started. Maybe we'll start with Larsson, who began the game and had 3 fouls in 2 minutes. Cool. Didn't see the court again in the first half and ended with 14 minutes, 4 points. I won't say that experiment worked too well. Rozier moved to the bench, had 4 and 6 in 25 minutes. Maybe this spurs him on, but he's washed and you don't need to roster him. Jaquez played 25 minutes, 8, 3 and 4 with a block. And again, I will repeat it until I'm blue in the face. It doesn't matter that Jimmy Butler is out. It doesn't matter if Jimmy Butler gets traded. Jaquez is not good enough to be a must-roster player. He will have better games than this, without doubt. He might start next game in place of Pelle Larsson. That is possible. But how many times do we see it? Where he gets a chance and he's just not good enough to do it. He's not. So Triple H, mid. Also a mid game from Nikola Jokic. Little Chungus had been playing well, did not play well. 8-2-2 with 2 threes here. I would prefer Jokic over Jaquez, and we'll see where it goes. But what I do think is going to happen is that Kel'el Ware is here as a starter to stay. 35 minutes for Ware, 22-10, 2 threes, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Actually unbelievable game. Huge minutes, huge production. This bloke was getting behind Kevin Love and Thomas Bryant to start the season. I know, he's a rookie. He's got to earn it, but it was insane at the time. And now we are fully seeing it. A lot of people ask me, is he going to get power forward eligibility? I don't know. But for me, my belief with this lineup is that Bam is the 4 and Ware is the 5. And I know some sites have already given Bam the power forward eligibility. Positional eligibility is a big bugbear for me in fantasy. It's not objective. It's subjective. This is not baseball. This is not football, where you have to put your lineup in and you have to say where the player is playing. In basketball, it's just like, here's guys. Here's some players. Position eligibility is garbage. You can run 4 guards. You can run 3 centers. You don't have anything specific. These guys that play these spots, who cares who's the center and who's the power forward? It doesn't mean anything. But we tie ourselves into these position restrictions in fantasy, and it does create competitive advantages and disadvantages. So I don't know whether Ware gets the power forward, because one thing, again, that I hate, you can say, well, you need to restrict it, whatever you want, but I hate the idea that these sort of things get decided by some random bloke making a decision that's based on non-objective data. It's just not objective. I can sit here and tell you, I think Ware's the center. You could sit there and go, I think it's actually Bam. And if you ask the Heat, they just be like, yeah, they're just guys. They're just guys we put out there. All right? There's no objective. You are starting in left field, and therefore you stand in left field. That's not how it works. You are the quarterback. You are a wide receiver. That's not how it works. So it is frustrating. Dunky Robinson had 12 with 3 threes. He's a 3 streamer. And Bam was, he was better. But what is happening with this man? Cannot hit shots. 42%. Bad from the line again. 1 of 2, although that's only 2 attempts. 11 and 14 with 3 assists. He has been a huge disappointment. Hero return for 21, 3 and 9. And I don't think that the Pele Larson starting thing will happen. But what we also got is Haywood Highsmith. That's my Kendrick Perkins coming out. Haywood Highsmith moved back into a sizable rotation role. He was the one who came off the bench when Larson was in foul trouble those first 2 minutes, not Jaquez. So could Larson move to the bench and Highsmith start the next one? It's Spoelstra. It's the Heat. You're going to get dicked. It's going to happen. There's going to be randomness all over the place. On to the Milwaukee side of things. Oh yeah, in case you weren't aware, Kel'el Ware is just a must-roster player absolutely everywhere. Everywhere. On the Bucks, same lineup for them. Chris Middleton was out. Yeah, that's a bit annoying. Not a back-to-back. Just not available. Through ankle management. Trade? ? Nope. Just the fact that his ankles are cooked. They won't push him into big minutes. That is why he moved to the bench, and they're going to keep his minutes low. He is very tough to drop. I understand this, but I think that in some cases it will make sense. Lillard, 29, 9, 11 with 2 steals. He was great. Yanni was pretty good. 25 and 12 with 3 blocks. That's awesome. We know the free throws are bad, whatever. And it was actually a good Gaz Trent game. But invoking the spirit of DeAndre Hunter, he had 21 with 7 threes. That's great. Where's the other beef? 1 rebound, 1 assist, no steals, no blocks. What's better? I know this is going to be a cultural thing. Where's the beef? Or where's the cheese? And I know that only some of you will get half of that stuff. Where's the cheese? Hey, the cheese. Gaz, good game. Can't trust it at all. At all. The artist formerly known as Torian Prince did his best nothing game, 3 points with 4 assists. The 4 assists is just an absolute shock. But we also got only 22 Bob Portis minutes. He had 16 and 8, so it's not a bad game. But 22 of Portis, it does make it really challenging. But it's one of those ones where you go, okay, how long do I hold this? Because there could be good games coming around the corner. And, you know, that's why I hate drafting Bobby Portis, because I know overall ranks will be solid enough at the end of the season, but then you're dealing with like bad for months, and then you get like a 2-week run of top 30, then it's bad again, and the overall ranking just doesn't mean anything when you get down to the end of it. It just doesn't mean a single thing. Let's go to the next one. It is the 6th game of the day. It is the Sacramento Kings on a back-to-back. Traveling to altitude across time zones to take on the Nuggets. It's always a tough ask to do that. They weren't able to get the win, but they did fight back very admirably towards the end. They lose 132-123. Sabonis, 23, 19, and 8 is great. Keegan Murray, 11 and 9 is not great, but it's okay. 3 threes, a steal, and a block. Trey Lyles popped off with 12 and 9, and he's always a little bit of a 14-team league stream guy. And De'Aaron Fox just cannot shoot at all. 29%. He is also one of those players, a bit like CJ McCollum, where I'll see something and go, that's weirdly terrible. That's weirdly unbelievably good. Why? Oh, well, now this is going to improve. Oh, but now this is bad. I never know how to figure it out. And it's almost like literally, it's not the same things changing as it is with CJ, but it's always something completely out of the blue. Just now he's a 30% shooter, I guess. But he played 40 minutes. Leaky Monk, not one of his best. He was bad from the field and the line, but he had 15, 2 and 7. And then Keon Ellis, only 21 minutes again. This is not enough. 5 assists and 1 steal is fine, but 21 minutes is not enough to be a 12-team league guy, the same way that 21 minutes of Alex Caruso is not enough to be a 12-team league guy, the same as 18 minutes of Bruce Brown is not enough to be a 12-team league guy, and it needs an injury, and it can work for some of you, and for others it cannot. You cannot hold it waiting for an injury that literally may never happen. DeRozan had 24 and 6, which is just reasonable. He's weirdly only 75% from the line and didn't offer too much else, and his assists continued to be really quite low on this team as guys like Fox and Monk really dominate the ball handling at the moment. So DeRozan was fine. He was great in the last game. He was fine. He had not bad, not good. He's fine, I would say. But I tell you who was better than fine? It's the big fella. Big Chungus, Nikola Jokic, as I realized I just put the wrong thing up on my screen, but you haven't seen it yet. But Nikola Jokic, ridiculous. 20, not 20. The Kings wish he scored 20. 35, 22, and 17. 1 steal, 2 blocks, 90% from the line, 63 from the field. That is one of the best games you will actually ever see. An unbelievable game from Jokic. The poop cookie Michael Porter had 20 and 8. Well, Christian Brown did it again. But again, I'll preach caution. Now, preaching caution can only mean so much. But he had 21 points. That's great. He played only 25 minutes though. And that is my worry. It's when these guys all get into a situation where they're playing their real minutes, he's the one who won't. But it didn't matter because he shot 57%, he had 2 steals. And the numbers are undoubtedly good for Brown, who over the last 5 games is inside the top 100. I still don't think that he's necessarily a must-roster guy, but again, the last few games have been absolutely worth having, and you can have him on your roster. It's just that when we're trying to project it forward, I don't see a realistic path for staying at that level. Jamal Murray played 40 minutes. He had 18, 6, and 5, which is honestly pretty good. And then Russell Westbrook shot 70%. And if you get a 70% game from Russ, you're loving it. Unfortunately, he shot 33% from the line, which is the opposite of loving. Aaron Gordon had a bit of a locker room trip earlier in the game, came back, played 17 minutes, shot 13%. I don't think you need to roster him.
Get that garbage out of here.
They're obviously slow playing it with his injuries. He's also not the greatest fantasy guy when he's going at full tilt anyway, and I think that is burning a roster spot for you. 3 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 17 minutes, bad shooting. I don't think you need to roster him. What are you missing out on if you drop him? The answer there is not very much. You got 4 blocks out of Peyton Watson as well, and he played more minutes, 25 minutes for Watson. The blocks are great. The steals are great. That is what you stream him for. You don't have any reliability in holding him through games. But when you're looking, hey, I might need someone to get me some steals and blocks, well, adding Peyton Watson makes quite a bit of sense in those positions. All right, the next game, and I think these are the last games, are all a bit one-sided. The Warriors win against the Bulls 131-106. Pretty comfortable victory in the end there for Golden State. The Bulls, they did rock the same starting lineup, and I talked about this yesterday, how the Bulls and the injury reporting is absolutely horrific. But there's a clear pattern to it at least. The team, through a social media post, the coach, the GM, whoever, tells us information, or a player tells us information on a player's injury. All right, they do that. Kobe White, yeah, it's not likely he's going to play. It's not looking good. Team lists him questionable. Josh Giddey, yeah, maybe I'm back on Monday. Saturday before, questionable. Ayo Dosunmu will be reevaluated in 10 days. 3 days later, questionable. And of course, none of them played in any of those games, and they all adhered to what had been reported. And it happened to Kobe White. They said he was questionable for today, and now it comes out, he's got a bone bruise in the ankle, so it's going to be a while. Yeah, it is going to be a while. Stop lying to us, you disingenuous pricks. Anyway, White is out for a long time now. I thought that Ayo Dosunmu would get the start, but he did not. Lonzo Ball stayed in the starting lineup. Lonzo played 23 minutes. He didn't do a huge amount. He had 9 points with 3 threes and 4 assists and a steal and shot 30%. But White's going to be out a while here. I think that both Dosunmu and Ball have 12-team league spots, although Dosunmu was bad. 23 minutes, 13 points. He shot well, and he does shoot well as a general rule. But to me, he does need to be a 30-minute plus player to be a rock-solid 12-team guy. This is a weird game because of the blowout nature and because of the just stupidity of this team in general. And I would roster Dosunmu at this point, but it's frustrating. Vooch had 9 points on 44%. He added 4 steals and 4 assists. It's been a really good steals run here from Vooch for some reason. I don't really know why, but the shooting stuff has fallen off and Josh Giddey played big minutes. Now, I thought with a healthy team, Giddey was going to lose out, but now they're not healthy. White is out, so Giddey's playing more. 34 minutes, 16 and 11, steal and a block for Josh, while Levine had 24, 3 and 4. Batas Buzelis played only 11 minutes, and most of that was garbage time. I have absolutely no idea what the plan is with this team. And speaking of no idea what a plan is with the team, let's talk about the Warriors side of things. Because Trace Jackson-Davis started in place of Kevon Looney, and then he didn't start in place of Kevon Looney because by the second half, Looney was starting and Jackson-Davis played under 10 minutes for 4 points. Now, we know that this happens with the foreseeable future legend Steve Kerr. There's no certainty now in Jackson-Davis and his role, and if you wanted to move off of him, do it. His value is not high enough to deal with uncertainties. You don't have to, but you can. Dennis Schroeder played 20 minutes. He had 11 points with 7 assists. We know what we're doing. We're jacking. Very, very hard.
Get that garbage out of here.
And Steph played in the back-to-back. He had 21, 4, and 7, but it was some unheralded players that went crazy. Moses Moody, 16 points and 4 threes. Okay, he does that sometimes. Then he chipped in 4 blocks. This is a game where Kuminga and Draymond are out, and they're out for a while, and Kyle Anderson remains out. But Bajemski did return. Moody's at least a deeper league stream guy. And then Guy Santos Al Helper. 27 minutes for Guy. He started the second half. He had 19 and 7 with 5 threes. But both of those players, Moody and Santos, they shot ridiculous. 60% from Moody and 70% from Santos. So, well, that's good. It's not reliable. The minutes aren't reliable. I wouldn't be looking at them outside of like 14 or 16 team leaguers. Wiggins had 17 and 7. That's pretty strong. While Bud Hield started. He played 19 minutes. Hey, cool. He had 3 points. We're not rostering him. And then Gary Payton, they continued to start him and play him 10 minutes. He had 11 minutes here actually for 3 points. I don't get the point of it. He was benched in the second half as well for Guy Santos. And I just think it's going to be more rotational frustration. How about that's not his name, Quentin Postman Pat? How about that? 20 points, 5 threes. We heard them talking him up last game, and we've heard Steve Kerr do this before. I've got to get him more minutes. It plays him 3. Well, he was actually serious this time. 20 minutes for Post, 20 points and 5 threes. That's deep league interesting because let's be fair, Kevon Looney's not him. Trace Jackson-Davis is in the doghouse at the moment, and he might not be him either. And I'm not saying that Post is him, but he's available. He's going to be available everywhere. Posty, 20s, 18s, 16s. I would add him in those and just see what happens. My confidence in this sticking is as rock bottom as it gets. I don't believe that it's going to hold at all. But there's an opening, and maybe we get Quentin filling that hole. Maybe. It's a long shot. If you wanted to do it in a 12, I appreciate the balls of doing it. I think you're probably going to find better options out there, but, there's a little flash there. He didn't shoot 1,000,000%. He shot well, 50% from 3, but he didn't go 70%. He just got good minutes and produced at a high level, and they talked him up. They are interesting things to look at with Quentin Post. And if I'm in 14s, I'm at least intrigued enough to see where it goes. In Pajemski's return, he had 10 and 4 with 2 threes. Whatever. It's fine. It's not one that I'm super interested in 12-team leagues, though. The next one was a blowout as well. The Boston Celtics and the LA Lakers. The Celtics brought back all their players, so Porzingis started, Cornette to the bench, Drew Holiday returned, Sam Hauser to the bench, but it didn't matter. They lose 117 to 96. Porzingis had 22 and 7 in 27 minutes. And the Derek White struggles continue. 19 minutes for White, 3 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists on 20% shooting. The buy low is absolutely in effect. He is in a horrid slump. It feels like there's got to be something else to this, but he's in a massive slump. And I think you target him, but I don't know that you have to offer very much at the moment. And the other thing is Peyton Pritchard. Now, he ended up playing 24 minutes with 7 points, but he played a lot of garbage time. He shot 17%. He's not a top 150 player over the last 2 weeks, and since Porzingis has been back, he hasn't really been a must-roster guy. And in fact, I actually think you can pull that trigger if you need to. But again, there are certain players like this that'll have stretches that are outside the top 140, and then they'll have stretches of being 80th, and it looks good to hold them. But overall, if we're just looking at a guy that, hey, do I need to make a call to add somebody in to see where it goes, to boost a schedule spot or whatever, I'm not sure that Pritchard's a must-roster. Tatum had 16 and 6, cool, whatever. Cornette played 12 minutes. I don't know why I mentioned him. Drew Holiday had 3 points, and we're back to Drew being bad again. He's 178th over the last 2 weeks. I would be looking to hold him, but again, let's be honest, he's not a top 125 player this season. And in points leagues, he's 137th. And that's not, we dropped him in points leagues in week 3. And I don't think you need to go back to it. I think you keep him as a streaming sort of a guy for those formats. It's a struggle. The Celtics aren't playing well at all. I would try to hold Drew and hold Derek White if I can. I'll absolutely hold Derek White. But guys like Pritchard, I'm not sure you need to, and I definitely don't think that you need to hold Al Horford, who had 2 points in 24 minutes. But if I'm going to tell you the Celtics struggled, well, part of it is the Lakers are actually playing really, really well. And they got an easy win here. They're higher in the standings. I think many people expect. I know what I was looking at before I go, wow, they're actually up there. They're being very good. AD had 24 and 8 with 3 blocks. Once again, bitched about, I don't want to be a center. I'm actually better when I play the 4. You're not, and you're not. But he put up good numbers. We got a big Austin Reeves game, 24, 3 and 6, and LeBron had 20 and 14 with 6 big games from those 3 players. Over-rostered legend Rui Hachimura had 10 and 7 with 2 threes on 33%, and you know what to do with him in a 12-team league. You don't add him, you absolutely drop him. You do the reverse of adding him. While I can't believe he failed to pick 17, legend Dalton Connect had 13 points. That's one of his better games, actually, in 14 minutes, and he is only a deep league guy. Max Christie, 29 minutes. It's okay. We don't roster Max in 10s. We don't roster Max in 12s. We consider Max as a 14-team league guy, but even then, I'm iffy on it. 6 points. 4 rebounds, 260th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. I think he's like a 180 to 210 sort of a guy, which is more 16 than 12. Move off of him. Don't fret it too much. While Finney Smith played 20 minutes for 0 points, obviously, and hopefully nobody is rostering Dorian Finney-Smith in 12-team leagues. That would be the hope. I've realized I've just got that starting lineup graphic rotating, which I don't really need to do, considering it's the same lineup, so apologies if that was bothering you. And then we get on to the final game. Let's do the final game of the day. The Wizards and the Clippers. Easy win in the end for the Clippers here, 110-93. The Wizards chucked out their same starting lineup. Jordan Poole was very good. 24, 2 and 9, 2 steals, shot horribly, but 8 of 8 from the line. Very good game. Bob Carrington, also pretty good. He hasn't been very good, but this was good. 12, 6 and 5 with 2 steals. Didn't shoot well to me. He remains just a stream guy and not a must-roster player, while Sarr had 14 and 10 with 2 threes, and I like him as a 12-teamer. Then we get into some interesting stuff. Keyshawn George, people are still rostering him in 12s. You should not do that. Justin Champagnie played 15 minutes. You don't need to roster him either. And honestly, I think we're 100% there now. What are we doing with Kuzma?
Get that garbage out of here.
7 points, 25%. Didn't attempt a free throw. Played 28 minutes. He sucks. Bro is not even a top 225 player this season. It's somehow getting worse. And like I said in the show the other day, you know that there's the potential for him to be better, but waiting for it just kills your team. So maybe if you drop him, someone immediately grabs him and then he kills their team. So you get off of a player that's terrible and that gets added onto somebody else's team. And yeah, maybe he does figure it out. I don't care anymore. I'm out. I'm done. Move on. Bilal Coulibaly played 34 minutes. He had 15 and 5 with 3 steals. That's a pretty good game from Bilal outside of both of those percentages being terrible. He's been a tough one to sort of figure out all season, and he's had a bad run. The last couple of games are better. The minutes, though, remain very consistent, and that's a positive, very clearly. It's just frustrating dealing with these sort of ins and outs and small gains and then big losses and all that sort of stuff. I would try to hold Bilal in a lot of spots, but I also do understand it if you don't. Valanciunas played 18 minutes. The 12 and 10 is fine. The shooting percentage is great. Still limited upside because of the role. On the Clippers side of things, this is the end of their 4-game in 5-night period. There was some yuckness in there, but everybody returned today. James Harden returned. Kevin Porter to the bench. Kawhi Leonard returned. Terrence Mann to the bench. Ivica Zubac returned. Mo Bamba to the bench. And who was the last one? Norman Powell returning. And that meant that Amir Coffey went to the bench. There you go. Harden, 17, 12, and 13. Triple one. Fantastic. Derek Jones, second big game in a row. 19 and 8 with 3 threes and 2 steals. And Jones is putting up, over the last 5 games, 12-team value. I don't believe that he's a 12-team league player. And it does really help. Of course, they've had this little concentrated run of games where guys have been in and out. But at least in 14-teamers, Jones has stepped ahead of Chris Dunn. Powell had 22 points. He shot well. He had 3 steals again, which is great. Of course, there's not much in this rebounds and assists, but solid game. And Kawhi had 15 and 7. Not bad. Zubats, 11 and 9 is totally okay as well. But again, this game was handled relatively comfortably. And we had Amir Coffey having 10 points with 2 threes. But overall, I'm not really sure how much there is to say here. Kevin Porter played only 12 minutes, so if you added him, you drop him. Terrence Mann had 0 points in 19 minutes, continues to be terrible. And Mo Bamba had a bit of an explosion. 5 blocks, 3 threes, 13 points. Mo, we streamed you when Zubats was out, hoping you would do this, and you did nothing. And then Zubats returns and you do it here? Okay, he's a desperation threes and block stream. Obviously, you're not holding him or rostering him, but that's undeniably a very, very good performance. Let's give out some lines of the night. The monstrous line of the night, there is zero surprise or shock here. It is Big Chungus. Nikola Jokic, 35, 22, and 17 is a ridiculous game. The waiver wire line of the night, this man just qualifies. He's at 40% currently. It's Superman. Kel'el Ware, 22 and 10 with 2 blocks. You'll be shocked to know in the non-Wemby division, he is also the young gun of the night. We don't know what's going to happen in Miami. But I would say at the moment, I feel relatively confident that he is going to lock in as a 12-team league player rest of season. Is just a must-add guy. And your dud of the night. As always, there's many options. But in this one, we go to Aaron Gordon. 3 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist. And I just don't think we need to hold him in 12-team formats. On your International Day of Education, I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you celebrated schools and books, the Dewey Decimal System. It's all there. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe. But more importantly, hit the positivity as we head into a weekend for me, getting close to a weekend for you. Focus on a good thing. Guys, we're done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.